Hi, welcome back to the farm. My name is Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. Back to a more regular episode this week after a few different ones the past few weeks. I did my Passion Flower birthday Q&A video, and I also did a spotlight video on some knitted top patterns that I would like to make or are thinking about making. So you can go back and check those out. And last week was a very, very short little episode in between. And the reason for that is because I've been very busy with my office job. I work in a school and it's near the end of the year, and there's a lot of work towards year 12 exams and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I've been doing the past, almost 4 weeks now. Much longer days than normal, and a lot of extra things in that space. So things around here on the farm have been a little bit on the back burner. The things that I have been doing have been like, just like the regular chores, making sure that the sheep have water, part of which was actually putting the bath back into their paddock. I'd broken the seal on the bottom of it. So we had to re-silicone it, and then did a test and found another spot that was a bit weak. So I had to re-silicone that. So that's back in. So when it's been hot, which it has been, I have been making sure to refill that quite regularly. As you would have known from my video last week, my family were away in America. So there was me here on the farm doing all of the chores. So I was feeding the rest of the pets. So I was taking care of the chickens, collecting the eggs, and then putting out the orders and all that kind of stuff as well. A few things I did get around to, or that happened. So I got the bath put back in for the sheep, and I've now closed off the shed garden area out here, and they are just in their regular paddock. Hoping that, and it's pouring rain today, and it's been pouring rain on and off for the past 4-5 days. It's been super hot, and then it kind of breaks and we get like a storm and lots of rain. Like all of the spring rain is coming this 1 week. It's been super dry up until now. So hopefully with the rain and then a little bit of heat, we'll actually get some really nice growth in the grass out here before we get some dry for summer. So the sheep are back in their regular paddock. Part of that also is because Vito decided to escape. And I'd kind of seen that there was a weak spot in the fence, and I have been periodically having to put additional star pickets in between the lengths of mesh wire to prop up where they've been pushing. And it's been where there is a lot more green grass on the other side of the fence, which is fair enough. Like their paddock is actually really quite low. But they do have plenty of hay, but green grass or a plant is much, much better than dry hay. So there was a spot, I'd done a few spots through here, and that had stopped that problem. I'd seen them, they were sort of, he kind of climbs up and sort of is able to get his front legs over and then to reach. And it's only because he wants to reach what's on the other side. He's not trying to escape. But he did it out here. I'll take a photo and pop it in. And I had seen that it was a bit weak, and I'm like, oh, I'll get to that, or I'll close off and only let them in their main paddock. Completely forgot to do either of those things. And I got a call from the lady who has her horse up here while I was at work saying, oh, yeah, your sheep's out. And she was able to get him back in fairly easily with just some like grain, just shaking it, which is what I've kind of thankfully trained them to do. They like that sound and they'll come to it. So he was able to get put back in without any issue. But I do need to now fix this part of the fence before I can put them back in there, because it is extremely low and the wire is all bent down, and there is no way that that's going to hold any of them at this point. So I'm thinking I might actually have to put a couple of extra star pickets in and then put some wood across and then attach the wire to the wood, just so that they're not pushing that wire down, because that's what is going to end up being the problem. They either push under it or they push it, they climb up onto it and push it down enough that they can kind of step over it. Whereas if there's bars of wood, that will prevent that from happening. So they are now back in just their paddock, and they should have been shorn last Tuesday. They are so big and fluffy, and I booked this date in ages ago, and I thought, oh, it'll be super dry and it'll be a good time of year to get them shorn. It had been dry, and then that night it rained. So I was booked in for first thing in the morning. The shearer messaged and said, have they been in a shed by any chance? And I'm like, no. So we're going to have to reschedule because you cannot shear really wet sheep. It's really impossible to get the shears through the thick wool. So I've got it booked in for next week. The forecast is for rain on that day. So I'm going to have to try and get them into their little shed in their paddock the night before and hopefully keep them in there. And that, fingers crossed, will be enough to keep them in there now. There's a few spots where Vito's kind of like bent it a little bit, but hopefully it can contain them. And also that they will be dry enough at that point. We'll then have to bring them out in order to shear them. So if it's actually wet that day, it still may not happen. So my best hope is that it actually is dry that day. Hopefully all this rain clears through and we don't get any more, because the more that it rains, the more that he's rescheduling, the shearer that is. So then the less appointments are available moving forward because he's having to catch up on all of the ones where there was a rainy day. Then I'm going to be on holidays, so I kind of want to get it done before that. So that's where we're at with the sheep. I did harvest my garlic. It had started to all wilt and go yellow on the top, so it was time to pull that all out of the garden bed. Got so much. So I pulled it out on a dry day and just left it in the bed just to dry out a little bit. Then the following day, I finished work quite late and I rushed home and brought it inside because it was about to rain. And now I have sort of half platted, just half sort of strung bits together. And it is now hanging inside here in the shed in a little hallway so that it's nice and well ventilated so that it can dry out properly and we'll be able to use it. So that's really exciting because it was quite a lot. I think I only planted 3 full cloves worth of garlic out and I've got so much. So it's really quite exciting to see how much can come from just one or 2 cloves, and then you can continue to grow your garlic every year by reserving back a few of those and putting them back into the ground. Before I move on to business and craft things, I just wanted to share with you my thoughts on dates and schedule for the rest of this year and into next year. I'm going to have 2 more videos for 2024. So it'll be after this one, there'll be next week and then the following week. So Sunday the 18th and Sunday the 15th of December. And then I'm going to take a break. And I will not be back until probably the 12th of January, I'm thinking. Maybe the week after that. I'll just see how I'm feeling and what's going on. Because I work in a school, the December, January period is basically when everyone takes a holiday. Everything stops. It's the end of the school year. It's sort of a bit of a reset period. So it's a good time to not do anything at all. So I'm going to do none of this recording stuff and just take a little break from it. I will probably do some yarn dyeing and some other crafty things. I'll have plenty to share when I come back, but it is nice to just take a little break. I feel like it then refreshes everything. So I'm certainly not stopping, but I am going to take a little bit of a break over Christmas and New Year. Because I have been busy, Christmas market prep has been very slow. It's also been very slow because when I have had an opportunity, it's actually been super hot. And being over here in the shed when it's super hot, especially holding onto yarn, is not a fun thing. So I've really got to get myself into gear because the All About Fibre and Yarn Christmas market is the 7th of December. So that is next Saturday. So yeah, I'm going to be busy this week whenever I get a chance. Not sure how much I'm going to get done today now because I will have to edit and upload this once it's done. But I might get a little bit done over here first. I had been really prepared and then, so I've got all the dyeing done, but I still need to label, make sure everything's up to date on my square and I want to make some packs that are a bit more Christmassy to put together for the market as well, and then just plan out how everything's going to look. So I do still have a little bit to do, but I think once I actually get into it, I'll be okay. Uh, just yeah, it hasn't been a ton of motivation, but I am actually really looking forward to the market. I think it's going to be a really good day. It's going to be quite big, I think. I've seen the list of vendors, and there's quite a lot of people who are going to be there, and it will be, I think there's like lucky door prizes being announced quite a lot. So it would be a good one to come along to because you might win some prizes. And I'll have some of my Christmas yarn there. And I'm assuming that some of the other vendors will have some special Christmas only type things available. Last weekend, I taught a sock class at Craftlandia in Dalesford, which was really fabulous. It had been a while since I'd taught a sock class, and I really enjoyed it. They were all quite nervous and unsure at the start, going into a new technique. And we're all super happy at the end when they came out with their mini socks. So it was great to be able to introduce some new people to sock knitting. And I'm hoping to be able to schedule more of those classes next year. Speaking of that, I've got my 2025 calendar, which I need to now pull out and start to put in dates. I've been applying for markets, and I have been trying to figure out when I might be able to run some workshops here in the shed as well. So I kind of need to wait until I get some confirmation from markets about when they are, so that then I can work out the rest of my schedule. So the planning is happening for next year. So as soon as that's all done, I'll be putting that up on my website, and I can link below to the page where all of my event dates will be. But the market on the 7th will be the last event that I have this year before I take some time off. Okay, now to some knitting. It's been a while since I've shown you any knitting. So firstly, I finished the socks for my nephew for his birthday, which is actually today. So I have given these to him, but I asked him if I could take them back so that I could show you here, and then he will get them to wear. I haven't blocked them. They're literally just off the needles. So I had ripped them back because they were a bit too wide, and I did them again. These are like the biggest socks for sure I have ever made. He tried them on this morning. They are slightly too long, but his feet are still growing. So he's probably only going to be wearing them around the house anyway. So he was super happy with them, and I'm sure he's going to grow into them. So these are using the Fish Lips Kiss Heel recipe that I use, and the yarn I dyed specially for him, and I've called it Old Gold. It was the color that he had requested. So big, gigantic size 14 socks finished. Let me show you one more time just to get a proper, they're too big to hold up properly. Hang on. There. I dyed 2 balls of this colorway for him, and I ended up with about this much of each ball left. So I'm glad that I had done the 2 rather than tried to split them in half. So I decided that I would also make him a beanie, which I'm not quite finished yet, but I only cast this on 2 days ago, and I'm already about halfway through the head. So I've done about 10 centimeters of ribbing on the bottom, and I think I'm working on size 3mm needles. And now I'm just knitting plain. I'm basing this off the size medium of the sock head hat, and I'll just go until it feels like about the right size. I'll try it on a few times on my own head, and then I'll just do some decreases at the top. So this has sort of become my in the evening sitting watching a show and working on. So I'm almost finished the first ball now, and I might, depending on how long I make it, I might need to break into the second, but I might finish with this, and then I'll still have this entire ball left for something else. And I've also made amazing progress on my little love. It is out of Fairfield Fins in the Logwood colorway, which is a natural dye. But as I've talked about many times before, the body color and the sleeve color are different enough that I am probably going to over dye this. All of the knitting is done, which is super, super exciting. I think last time I showed you, I was still on the first sleeve. So I finished the first sleeve except for the tubular bind off, and I finished the second sleeve except for the tubular bind off. So I just need to sit down quietly and just get those bind offs done. I have tried it on, and I might try it on one more time before I do the bind off, just to double check that I'm happy with the length. As you can see, I've gone for a cropped sleeve, and I've kind of gone for a bit of a cropped body too. So it's overall a little bit of a cropped look. It's got the shawl collar, which kind of folds over, and it's got a lovely pattern. But yeah, the sleeves are definitely a vastly different color to the body. So once I have done the bind off, I'm going to soak it and then come up with a color, like a dye color, that I'm going to over dye this whole thing in. I'm not sure whether to try and do a similar purple, or if I should just perhaps put some silver or some grey, and see if I can kind of over dye something like that instead. I'm still thinking about that. I don't want to ruin it. And if I just do another purple, it might look kind of weird. Whatever I do, I'm probably going to have to put the sleeves in. If it's going to be just an overall darker color, I'll have to put the sleeves in last. If it's going to be an overall purple, I have to put the sleeves in first. Does that make sense? So that if I want to create an overall purple look, the one that's lighter already will need to go in there for longer. But if I want to do an overall grey dye bar, or like a silver grey or something like that, then I'll need to put the sleeves in last, because they'll take up the most dye, and the bits that are in the darker colour will take up less dye. So, and I don't want the sleeves to be then end up being way darker than the body. So there's a lot to sort of consider in terms of doing that, but it might sit for a little bit, or I might get motivated and get that done. But the tubular bind off does take me quite a while, even though it's only going to be 2 little bits of sleeve. I've really enjoyed this pattern, and I'm looking forward to wearing the finished product, but it's sort of like that whole, now it's probably too hot to wear anyway, so it may sit for a little while. You never know. And I've started something new. I did a call out last week asking for suggestions of which short sleeve summer top I should cast on with the new yarn that I was gifted from my family when they got back from their US trip. And the yarn is Toil and Trouble hand dyed yarns by Fibre Witches, and it is in the Queen of Cups colorway in their Sonnet base, which is 100% superwash merino. And it is, whoops, you can't see inside there, this beautifulness. Yeah, so gorgeous. And wound down into a ball, it's even more pretty than it was in the hank. So I had multiple people tell me that I should do the Tolster tee, which is one that I was thinking about. And I also had the suggestion for the summer sorrel, which I had considered as well because of the yoke construction on the front, but I was a little worried because it was such a dark colorway that those cables might get a little bit lost. So I've gone with the very basic Tolster tee, which is a simple raglan design, so that I can actually showcase the yarn and just enjoy just a plain knit, especially after I've just done all of that texture on the little love cardigan. I just wanted something nice and simple. So I am knitting the Tolster tee 4-ply version by the Creabea, and the pattern that you buy, so you get the 4-ply version, you get the 8-ply version, you also get directions on how to do bust darts for all sizes. Not that I'm going to be doing bust darts because I'm not endowed in that way. And you also get another document which takes you through a whole lot of variations and patterns and choices that you could make in terms of creating a very individual piece, really like jazzing up that plain raglan. So I think that the pattern provides you with a lot. And there are a ton of sizes as well. So it's size 1 all the way through to size 10, which is a finished chest circumference of 80 centimeters at the smallest. And it does recommend having some positive ease in that, all the way through to 170 centimeter bust. So I'm knitting the size 2, and I have started. I didn't do a swatch. I have just started, and I figure measurements will be pretty good, I think, and I'm just going to go with it, and then I can try it on once I get to the sleeve split. So not much to show so far. So I have done the neckband, and it's a slightly wide neckband, but not overly wide, which I like. And I am, hang on, that's the side, that's the sleeves. And I've done the short row shaping for the back. There. Oh, sorry, it's rolling. There you go. You can see the fabric a bit better. And I have just started working just in the round and doing the raglan increases for the sleeves. So I at this point I'm not alternating skeins, and I'm just going to see how the colors play out. But I'm thinking that I may not even need to, just because of the way that it's dyed. It's actually coming out really nicely variegated at this stage. What I might end up doing is alternate on the sleeves. Because of the smaller circumference, it will change how the colors will stack and pull. And if I can kind of replicate what it's doing on the body, then that would be ideal, I think, because I really like how that's coming out so far. So the pattern is extremely clear and easy to read. It's laid out really well. The only criticism I would say is that it has abbreviations, but it doesn't tell you what those abbreviations, like how to do them. So the make one left, make one right, make one purl left, make one purl right, are not listed out in the pattern as to how to do them. I know how to do them, but as a beginner, you'd have to go find those somewhere else to then be able to come back and do them within the pattern. That's the only criticism I have at this stage. Otherwise, it is super clear, and the numbers are written really clearly so that you know how many you should have in each section, not just as a whole garment, which I find very, very helpful. And I'm just having fun at just watching these colors come out. And I had to put it on hold so I could finish those socks for Seb. But now that they're done, I will be back on this knitting, which is just making me all sorts of happy. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.